everybody. Welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Paper Crafting Saturday. I'm Leslie Watkins. There you are. So today I have a really great way to help beginning stampers get started with their stamps. And I'm going to show you the same card 3 different ways. So the first way is going to be very simple. The second one we're going to be adding a little bit extra. And then the third one we're going to pull out all the stops and use a lot of different things. So let's turn you down and we'll get started. So the stamp set I'm going to be using today is this one. It's called 4 Season Floral, and it's a really sweet set. It's got flowers for every time of the year, including a poinsettia for the winter time. It's got a forget-me-not, a daisy, and some roses, and then it's got these very generic sentiments which are wonderful to have. Happy birthday, thank you, and for you, and those are the ones that I use almost all the time. So this is a great set. And it's also a very inexpensive set because you can get it in the beginner's brochure. And this is a really great little tiny brochure with just a few products in it. So it's not as overwhelming as our great big annual catalog. So let me show you. Here's the annual catalog, and this has nearly 200 pages of stamp sets and tools, papers, adhesives, you name it, all sorts of embellishments, die cuts. So this is a very comprehensive book, but if you're just getting started and you don't know where to begin, this can be very overwhelming. So I would recommend that you start with this little brochure, and if you go to, let's see what page it's on. It's on the 5th page. You'll see this set. And you can actually get some kits that include some printed envelopes and some cards that already have some designs on them. And then there are some suggestions here of some of the different things that you could add, like a clear block or ink spots and the adhesive. And you can get it all, the entire kit, for $46.50. I'm not going to be using the kit today. I'm just going to be using some papers I already have on hand. But if you just wanted to buy the stamp set, this set is only $14. So that's a great deal. And I'm going to be pairing this set up today with the Bumblebee in color. So this is one of the new 2020-22 in colors. I have some beautiful papers here, and these are from the Flowers for Every Season DSP, and DSP stands for Designer Series Paper. So we're going to be using that. And then in a little later, when we get more advanced, I'm going to add in this stamp set, which is Positive Thoughts, excuse me, and we're going to be using some of the dies that you can get as well, called Nature's Thoughts, but that's later on. So let's just do the simple stamping to begin. I also have an ink pad here of the Bumblebee ink. So using my trimmer, I think you can see that on screen here. Let me just check this. Okay, here I have, this is the thick Whisper White cardstock. So I'm going to take a sheet of this, a full sheet, and I'm going to begin by scoring it down the center. So on the trimmer we've got 2 blades. We've got the cutting blade and the scoring wheel, actually. And so I'm just going to pull that down, and that's going to give me a nice score line. And then I'm going to cut it in half at 4.5 with the cutting blade. And that gives me 2 card bases. And that score line is going to give us a beautiful, clean, smooth fold. And I can just give that a little burnish with my bone folder. There we go. All right, then I also want a couple of mats. So mats are pieces of, generally they're colored cardstock. They don't have to be colored. It could be white or very vanilla or whatever. But these are slightly smaller than the front of the card. So I'm going to cut this at 5.25. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and cut both of them because we're going to need 2. 5.25 by 4. Okay, and then I think I have, let's see, what does this one measure? This is 5. I'm going to cut this one down a little bit, just so we have some options. All right, next thing is I'm going to take one of my beautiful DSPs. These are 2-sided papers that are 6 by 6 inches. And I'm going to cut this down slightly smaller than that mat. So I'm going to cut this at, let's see what we have here. Just checking, make sure I cut that correctly. Okay, I'm going to cut this at 5 by 3.25. I'm going to do another one the same way. There we go. Okay, and I'm saving all these scraps because we may be using those later. So what we have here is something that's developing like this. Maybe we should zoom you in a little bit. There we go. So this is what our card base is going to look like before we do any stamping. So I just want to make sure that I have a nice even border all around, and the same here. Okay, and then I'm going to get a piece of, let me find it. I'm using a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This is the regular weight, not the thick. And this is a great paper for stamping your images on. So I'm going to be using this beautiful little daisy here, and I think we'll make this a birthday card. So getting my trimmer out again, I'm going to cut down a little area to use for our greeting. So I'm going to cut this one at, let's say 3. Start with 3, see how that does. And let's see how this looks. A little bit shorter. Here we go. All right, so now this piece measures 3 inches by 4, and I'm going to use my pad here, my foam stamp pad. I'm going to grab my stamps, and I'm going to mount this daisy. Look, it could be a sunflower, or it's kind of generic, so you could call it a Cosmo, a sunflower, a daisy, a black-eyed Susan, Rebecca, whatever you like. So it makes it kind of versatile, because depending on when any of those flowers are blooming, you would have something that would work. So here's our happy birthday. Now, one of the things that you can do, if you have some of our grid paper, you can line up your block on the grid paper, and then I'm going to have to move this forward. You might see the top of my head here for a second, but you can just sort of line up the lettering looking through the block at the lines, and that will help you get a nice clean image. So here is our piece of white paper that we're going to stamp on, and I'm going to be using the bumblebee, and I'm just tapping gently into the ink pad, and then I'm going to put this at an angle like that, and then I'm taking my sentiment, happy birthday, make sure I have that right side up, and I'm just going to put that right there. I have some liquid glue, and I'm just going to run a line of that around the edge, but not up to the edge, and a little bit in the center. Put that on the DSP and get that where I want it. You can just sort of move that around a little bit before it dries, and then when you're happy, just take your bone folder and give that a little burnish. Same thing on the back of the DSP. And now I'm adding this to my bumblebee mat. There you go. And again. And there's our beautiful little card. Let's just give that a good burnish. And of course we would have an envelope. And you can also, what I like to do is put a little stamp on the back of the envelope on the flap, so I can use that same flower image. And there you go. And I just think that that's a really sweet, lovely, simple card that anybody would enjoy getting. And now I'm going to show you how you can take that same card and now jazz it up a little bit. So I have here a Wink of Stella. This is a little brush pen. It's got some little ball bearings in there so that you can shake it up and get all the glitter distributed. And it has a point, and you just give the sides a little bit of a squeeze, and that brings the glitter into the barrel and onto the brush. And I can just test that over here, make sure, yeah, it's running. Okay, now I can take this and I can just go around the petals put some in the center, and maybe we'll do the leaf here and here. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but yeah, I think you can see that. You see how it has a beautiful little shimmer now, and it's not too much, it's not too little, it's not too much, it's just right. So by adding a little bit of Wink of Stella, you already take the card to another level. Now, in addition to that, I'm going to add a couple of embellishments. So these are the 2022 in color enamel dots. And what I've found is that if you're not careful, you can peel the backing. So one way to avoid having that backing peel off is to give it a good burnish with your bone folder, and hopefully that will get a better adhesion there. And now I'm going to take, I'm going to pick up, I think, the green in the background of the DSP, and then I'm just going to fold this slightly and pick up, I'll put one here, put another one here. I'm just going to add 3, get that on there. There we go. So now we've taken it up another couple of steps. Same card. I'm going to give that a little better burnish up here. The burnishing helps to move the glue around so you don't have any bumps, and it provides better adhesion to the layers. Okay, so there we go. Now we have other elements that we can add. So I've got some ribbon here, and these are the ribbons that match the cardstock. These are all in colors. So I've got Just Jade, I've got Bumblebee, and I have Cinnamon Cider. Let me just get this opened. So you can see that they all coordinate perfectly with the paper. So all you have to do is decide whichever one you like the best. And I think I'm going to stick with the Bumblebee for now. So all I'm going to do is tie a little bow. Okay, get that to where you want it. And I'm just going to snip the tails, make them even. And my desk is getting to look like tornado season here. Okay, here's a glue dot. So these are just little glue dots on a roll. Just peel that off. I'm going to put that, even that up a little bit. Just going to put that, actually that side looks pretty good too. So you have to decide which side you like better. I lucked out this time, both sides look pretty good. So I guess I'll just go with that one. All right, so I'm just going to add that glue dot to the back of my ribbon. Try not to get it on my thumb. Oh, my perfect bow. Ah! Okay, now you're, this is going to be tricky. I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to start over again. All right, let's just do that. See, this never works twice in a row. Now I'm getting all fumble fingers. There we go. My first bow, I think, came out better, but for the sake of videoing, we're going to go with this one, even though it's not the best bow I've ever made. Okay, so again, trim those tails to where you like them. And let's see if we can get that glue dot to behave. So I can add this bow. Let's just put it right in the middle on the bottom. So there is our first and our second card all in one. So here is our first card, but now with the embellishments of the ribbon, the enamel dots, a little bit of wink of Stella. So let's move on to our more avid crafter, as we say, where we pull out all the stops. First, I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping because my work surface is getting a little out of control at the moment. Okay, so here's that card base that we started with earlier. So this is all ready to go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get out my other stamp set. So this is the Positive Thoughts, and I selected this one because not only is it my favorite stamp set this year, but it also has this really cute butterfly on it, and I really like the sentiments very much. I like the sentiments, I like the script, I like everything about it. So getting another piece of the plain Whisper White, here we go. I'm going to stamp out that butterfly. Actually, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to put the butterfly on here. I'm going to use a scrap of the bumblebee. This is the bumblebee cardstock. So I'm just going to stamp a couple of images here. do 3. All right, and I'm going to put that aside for a minute. And now I'm going to select my sentiment. And I think we'll do friends like you mean more every year. I'm going to line that up on my block. Excuse the top of my head. So I'll show you what I'm doing. There's a heavier line along the side here, and I can see that center thicker line through the block, and I'm just going to line up the baseline of my letters as best I can. Look, these are handmade cards. It does not need to be perfect, but we can get close. All right, and now I'm going to stamp this on my paper. Actually, before I do that, I have to do one more thing, and that is, I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to cut this down a little bit so that it fits through the, I'm just going to cut this at, what, 5? This is going to go through the die cutting machine, so I have to make it a little bit smaller. All right. Now I can add my sentiment. And I think I'll leave it at that for now. We can always add. All right, now let me make room for the die cutting machine. And for those of you who don't have a die cutting machine, I've got good news for you. And that is that in August, with the release of the mini catalog, we are going to have a brand new die cutting machine, and I'm very excited to see that. So I believe it is August 4th that that's going to be available. So all I'm doing here, let me get you on the screen. I'm going to zoom you out a little bit. There we go. Okay, so there's the machine. Here's I've got a cutting plate here. Here's my sentiment. I'm going to go back to my Nature's Thoughts dies, and I'm going to take this great big one. And this is a bordered framelit. I'm just going to center that sentiment. And this is when you're doing die cutting, you don't have to worry so much about whether you got the sentiment stamped straight or not, because you have another chance to straighten it up as you pass it through the machine. All right, I'm just going to run that through. And what that gives us is this gorgeous detail. Can you see? There you go. You see that? How beautiful that is? So this is the rectangle is perfectly squared on all corners, and it has this beautiful pierced design along the edges, and I really like that very much. All right, next we're going to take those butterflies. Let's see where they went. Here they are. So here are the butterflies that I stamped a little while ago. I'm going to put them on the cutting plate, and I'm taking this butterfly die, and I'm just going to line that up. I hope that's lined up. I can't really see from this angle, but I don't want you having to look at the top of my head, so we'll call that close enough. Run it through. And there's our little butterfly. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to need more than one, excuse me, but since we have the machine out, I'm just going to go ahead and cut these others because I like having things ready to go and have different design options. And one more time. All right. So we're done with this for now. So as it turns out, this card is now going to be, so this is what we call a tent fold card. And when the card opens like this, it's a book fold. So let me see if I have a book fold ready to go here. And I do not. So I'm going to get out my paper trimmer again. And I'm taking another piece of the thick Whisper White. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to score it at the 4 1/4 mark and then cut it at the 5 1/2. And the paper trimmer just makes this so easy. Okay, so now I've got what we call either a book fold, a card that opens up like a little book, or a landscape, same thing. So in this case it's going to be a landscape. And it's going to come together something like this. All right. So for this one, I'm going to do the same sort of treatment. I'm going to run the glue, liquid glue. Now you can use, there are other types of adhesives. You can use seal or tear tape. You could even use dimensionals, but I really prefer the liquid glue because it's so versatile and I can use it on so many different projects. I can use it on boxes, cards, you name it. Now I'm going to put this closer to the top so that the top border and the side borders are even and a little more of the design shows at the bottom. Okay, give that a good burnish. I'm just kind of going in all different directions. There we go. So there's our pretty sentiment. And the same thing, I'm going to raise that up to the top so that there's a little more showing at the bottom. There we go. And now I'm going to reuse that ribbon, that bow that came apart earlier, and I'm going to show you how you can do that. I'm looking for Here it is. This is my tear tape, and I just want to check. Oh, that's a little tight, so I'm not gonna use that. But that glue dot, that stray glue dot, is still on there, so I'm going to use that to hold that in place down below here. And then what I'm going to do is flip it over, and where is my, well, I can't find my seal right now, so I'm just going to use a couple more glue dots. I know it's not far. I'm just going to put one here and just fold this up, little ribbon end over. Same on this side. Okay, so that gives us a little piece of ribbon. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of ribbon, and I'm just going to slip that underneath there and tie that into a bow. Let's do it this way. It's a little bit easier for me to do it upside down. Okay, so just get that how you like it. And when you're good with that, give it a little trim. A little snip. Okay. Right now, we can take this entire collage and glue that to the card base. There we go. Let's give that a burnish. Okay, now let's take our butterflies, and I have somewhere here in my little box of goodies, I have a dauber. These are actually all in color daubers that I have in this little box that I keep on my desk. So I'm going to take my dauber and I'm going to find somewhere completely gone. All right, hold on, folks. Once again, I've managed to lose something right in front of my very eyes. Here it is. I'm going to take my ink pad, and I'm just going to go around the edges and give that a little sponging. Okay, so I'll show you the difference. So here it is sponged, and here it is not sponged. And I like the more finished look with the sponging. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that to all three of these little butterflies. You know, it's just, I really think it's just these little touches, these little details that make the difference. I'm going to go back to my Wink of Stella, and I'm going to give it the butterflies a little bit of a glimmer. we go. And then I'm going to take my thumbnail and push down on one side of the butterfly's body and fold that wing up, and the same thing on the other side, just like that. And then I'm going to go back to my glue dots, pick up one of those, get that in the center of my butterfly, and I'm just going to put one here in this corner. Let's get these folded. There we go. Here's another one. Swooping in. Here's our third one. And we'll have that one going off to the side here. So now we can take our, I'm going to use the little bit darker one. This is the apple cider. I'm just going to put that right on the back of the butterfly. Okay, and we can take our envelope and again on the flap I'm just going to add a little butterfly. And call that done. So here are our two cards. This card that started out simple and that we added a few little embellishments to. And then this one where we added a few more things like the die cuts and the beautiful framelit that created this nice edge on behind our sentiment. So that's the project for today. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got some ideas. I hope that you will visit my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com and subscribe to Notes. I have a new issue of Notes coming out on August 1st that will have all the information on my online classes for both watercolor and paper crafting. So I want you to check that out. And I hope you have a wonderful creative weekend, that you stay well, have a lot of fun, and I will see you on Monday at 12 noon for Marvelous Monday. It's all for now.